All the time, when I find myself taking another camera to my hands from another videographer, I find that all the video functions are not available on my fingertips and that the menu is not customized completely for the video scenarios. So today, on the example of the Sony ZV-E1 that doesn't have a lot of customizable buttons, I'm gonna show you how to customize the buttons and the menus of your Sony camera to get the best and the fastest performance when you shoot video. Let's go! What's good, guys? My name is Oleg Nikitin and you're watching No Limits On channel. So why do videographers do like this? Because they're simply lazy. They don't customize their cameras and they lose hours and hours upon years of using the camera by going into the menus, deep inside the menus, when they could simply add different functions to the quick menu or to the hotkeys. The overall logic behind this process is to have everything at your fingertips. Of course, you need to have your aperture, ISO and shutter, also the white balance, and sometimes I simply cannot find any buttons or even in the function menu, the white balance setting, and I don't know how videographers work without a white balance on the fingertips. Also the autofocus settings, the speed and the sensitivity, the picture profile, and also the codec and the frame rate. And now, guys, we'll have a look at the buttons and their customization. I'll show you the menu with all the customizable buttons so you can find the exact names of those in the menu as well. So the shutter release button is also doubled as a record button. I'll not be pressing record button right now because my Atomos Ninja 5 will stop recording when I stop recording. But also, guys, you can customize this button to be a record button, shutter release button. Also, the record button itself, the red one, is set to be the white balance function, so I can enter my white balance even if I'm filming, even if I'm recording, and I can set my white balance in kelvins, and I can set the tint as well, which is nice. The next function key is the background defocus button. It's an amateurish function, so I have set it to magnifying glass. As you can see, when I tap it once, it can magnify the image and I can focus more precisely, even on a smaller screen, manually. Then we go to the menu function. It's right here. It goes to the menu, of course. And then here I have the shutter on top, the shutter wheel. And also on the back dial is for my aperture. Thank you, the kids. The kids are awesome. I'm on the kids playground, by the way. So here we have the aperture, and if we press right, we have the ISO setting. It is set by default to this function because the ZV-E1 only has 2 dials instead of 3 dials, but I'm okay with that. Don't see any major problems with it. So also here we have the C2 button. It's a magnifying button by default, but I have set it to AFC, to MF toggle switch. So if I need to shoot in manual focus, or to simply keep focus after autofocusing, I hit this button and it goes to manual focus automatically. So here we have the display button. It switches between different display modes, and I like the horizon level mode most of the time, or simply the clear feeds. And the Sony ZV-E1 doesn't have any irritating overlays over my image, and I can see the image clearly. So the left button goes to the volume rocker. So if I'm recording, I don't need to go to the menu because you cannot go to the menu while recording. So I can adjust my audio right here, even if I'm recording. And some speakers do change their volume, the loudness of their voice. So overall, it's a nice feature to have. The lower button adjusts the steady shot, so I can turn on or off my steady shots without also going to the menu, simply with a click of a lower button. And also the trash can button is set to focus map function, so on a smaller screen it's easier for me to focus. As you can see, we can see what's in focus right here. So I'm gonna be focusing a bit closer and a bit farther away. So it's a nice feature to have, and I can disable it right here. And also the center button is set to go into the main menu, which is like the new menu for Sony cameras, and it has all the functions I need if I need to change something quickly, like the frame rate right here. I can go in here, I can change the aperture, I can set my ISO, my shutter speed, but I can also do it with the dials, of course. I can change the picture profile, the white balance, the codec, the bitrate. And on the next page, I can go into the log shooting mode. I can also use the APS-C crop mode, which works only in 1080p on the ZV-E1. Also, I can format my card, I can change the shooting mode from manual to auto. I can adjust the steady shot, the microphone directivity, even the file naming, the focus area, and I can turn on or off the focus and target recognition to birds or animals or planes or trains or whatever. So I simply hit the center button and I straight away go to this part of the menu, whereas when I hit the menu as is, if I was in a different part of the menu, for example here, and I go back, I hit the menu and then I'm in this part of the menu. But when I hit the center button, I'm always in the main menu settings, which is nice to have. And guys, to change the settings, you go into the toolkit, the last page, also page 3, and here you have your video key customized dial settings. So right here you can see all of my settings. You can copy it to your Sony ZV-E1, or you can simply assign different functions. So here you have different functions that I have assigned, so you can check what are those functions right here and stop the video if you've missed something. Also here you can customize the function menu for photos and for videos separately. And also right here you can set the record with shutter, so when you press the shutter button it will be starting recording as well in video mode, of course. And here you have your dial customized, so you can customize your dials right here as well. So this is it, guys. It's pretty simple, easy to navigate, easy to work. And now let's go into the function menu and check what's in here. So we hit the function menu and let's have a look at what we have here. So variable shutter, if we enable it, we can dial in the shutter speed with like 1/10 of a shutter speed. And it really helps me a lot when I film like TVs, projectors, like in different lighting conditions, to get rid of the flicker, because it's super irritating. And with my Sony a7S III I didn't have this option and I had to deal with the flicker in post, which was a pain. In here you can adjust your shutter speeds in almost any way and get rid of the flicker much easier. So here we have the AF transition speed, which I adjust all the time, as well as the subject shift sensitivity. So if it's set to the lowest setting, it won't be hunting for other people if there are many people in the shots. And if it's set to the fastest responsiveness, it will track different faces and it will just simply jump from one place to another. So I also adjust it a ton. Here we have the focus area, different variations. I mostly shoot in the wide. Also here we have the LUT applied. If I was filming in Apple log, I would have the LUT here to turn it on or off, to check my log footage with the LUT or without it. Here I can change the picture profiles. I mostly use PP11 and the log format. And here we have the touch functionality, which is not enabled when the HDMI feed is set with the display information all around it. So basically it means that when you touch the display, will it focus and stay there, or will it track a subject? With the Sony FX30 and FX3 it will be on the touch display, but with the ZV-E1 unfortunately it's not on the touch display for some reason, and you need to go into the settings to change this functionality from touch and stay or touch and track. So here I have my record settings. I need this because I can simply hit the FN button and see if I'm recording in 10-bit 4:2 or if I use a different set of settings. So here I have the zebra. Unfortunately it doesn't display on the video feed to my Atomos Ninja 5, but I can enable and disable it right here, and I can adjust the zebra level. I mostly use the 95 for the sky exposure if I need the sky to be properly exposed and not overexposed, and 75 for the skin. So I switch between 75 and 95 quite often. And here we have the steady shot adjustment. It can be set to auto, so the camera will understand which focal length you're using, if it has the electronic connections in the lens, of course. And also we can adjust it manually. So if we set it to manual, we can go into the settings and adjust the focal length. For instance, my Viltrox 28mm f1.8 full-frame lens has worse performance of stabilization when it uses the auto mode, auto adjustment. But when I set it to 28mm manually, it's working much better. So with the third-party lenses, I do suggest setting it manually, but don't forget to switch it to auto when you use the proper Sony lens, let me say, and when you switch lenses, because if you set it to 28mm and then you use like an 85mm, you'll have much worse results with your steady shot. So that is why those two settings are in here as well. And also, guys, don't forget that the Sony ZV-E1 has updated and much better system with the touch screen right here. So we can set all the settings with the touch screen, like shutter speed, like aperture, as you can see right here. We can set it like so, or by tapping the arrows. We can set the ISO, the white balance, which is not the best iteration of white balance because you cannot set the tint adjustment right here, so you'd better use a button as I show you here. If you swipe up, you can get into the function menu. You can swipe down to get back to the main screen, and then you can swipe from the side and get a new set of features. For example, if you need to have a product showcase mode, you can enable it right here to show a product, and it will focus on the product instead of your eye. You can disable it here, you can start recording, as you can here see, guys, and then you can stop it as well. You can change the autofocus settings. It simply toggles between like insects, birds, trains, people, and so on. You can go into the zoom settings. It's the same as the clear image zoom, which is set to the zoom rocker right here. Also, you can get into the playback mode. You can change your settings from automatic to semi-automatic or to fully automatic, or you can go into the memory recall function, and here you can set the timer as well as the directionality of the Sony ZV-E1 internal microphone. And the Cine Vlog is pretty useless for professionals, so don't pay attention to this one. But also, guys, you can see here the memory recall function, and you can set it to a proper setting of your white balance, ISO, shutter speeds, whatever, and it will be the same. You can assign like 3 different of those, for example, to 25p, 50p, 100p, and quickly change between them. But I do not recommend doing so, because when you change from one to another, all of your settings that are set, like white balance, shutter speed, ISO, and especially white balance, they'll be switching to the default setting of this memory recall function. And imagine, guys, you film outside, outdoors, most of the time, and you set it to 5600 Kelvin, 1/50 shutter, and for example f1.2, like I'm filming right now with f1.2 lens. But then you go indoors and you want to switch between memory recall modes, but indoors you have like 3200 Kelvin white balance, and also you have a different I don't know, you want to film outdoors or indoors and with different aperture. So all the time you'll need to adjust all of those settings, which is a pain in the butt, guys. So to adjust it properly, I go to the menu mode and simply hit the center button. Then I go to the recording frame rate and I change it right here. And then I set my shutter speed to a proper shutter speed, like 1/50 when I film in 25p. Then I can go right here as well, set to 100 frames per second, and adjust my shutter speed to 1/200th of a second. And it's as easy as that. You don't change your white balance in the scene, you don't change any of the setting. So guys, if you want to use the memory recall setting, there is only one proper way, in my opinion, of doing so. If you have a studio where you have consistent lighting all the time, nothing changes, you have blackout curtains, the light is the same, the lens is the same, the aperture is the same, shutter speed, white balance, everything is the same, and you film outdoors, and then you go to your studio, you film indoors, you go to the memory recall setting, and you're ready to go to film in the studio. And that's the only way I would use the memory recall function. Other than that, it's a no-go, at least for me. Write it in the comment section below if you think in a different way. And guys, if you use the Sony ZV-E1 and you did enjoy my settings, I have uploaded to a cloud my preset of settings. You can download it and you can install it to your camera. Please Google how to install a preset to your camera with different settings. I will not be explaining it in this video. It's already a bit too long, guys. And if you have any suggestions or recommendations for video filmmaking and customizing your Sony camera, please feel free to drop them down below. If you did enjoy this video, please smash the like and subscribe buttons and hit the notifications bell. And right here I have a video about lenses, on how to pick a lens and all the nuances of different lenses for you to watch next. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'm gonna see you in the next video. Take care, bye.